I always believed in it, and I think great democracies flourish when there is dissent. But then there are some fields in which dissent actually makes you wonder, and this will become clear when I invite the experts on the show who are going to join me today. Because these are worlds where protocol, where respect for the elderly, and above all, respect for the art form is something which is most important than anything else. We've heard stories about Guru Shishya Parampara. We've heard stories about how you need to practice endlessly the sadhana which is involved when you are a classical musician or a dancer. We'll find out what's going on, but that is our story today. On the wall right now, T M Krishna strikes a discordant note. Why is that? Great musician, great singer, very accomplished. But then there are surprises. And ladies and gentlemen, who would have imagined that even music, which brings people, emotions and nations together, can drive a deep wedge between exponents who practice the same art form? We're talking about Carnatic music here, one of the pillars of Indian classical music, the other being, of course, Hindustani classical. The world of Carnatic music is today exploding with a major controversy after the Madras Music Academy honoured musician T M Krishna with the Sangita Kalanidhi award this week. In its press release, while awarding the Raymond Magsaysay Award winner, singer turned author T M Krishna, the Academy said, and I am quoting them, known for his powerful voice and his adherence to tradition. When it comes to the art, he has experimented widely with its format. He has also worked towards expanding the listener base of the art by taking it to varied social settings and focusing on its exploratory as opposed to tightly defined structures. He has used music as a tool for social reform. The singer in turn thanked the Academy profusely and said how overwhelmed he was to be chosen for the award. And there began a huge protest, Talavada Kacheri, like we say in the Carnatic music tradition, with Carnatic vocalist duo Ranjini Gayatri and Harikatha exponent Sri Dushyanth Sridhar withdrawing from the Music Academy conference slated end of this year. Carnatic vocalist Vidushi sisters Ranjini and Gayatri said that they will not be performing at their concert on 25th of December and shall not participate in the conference to be held from 15 December to 1st of January. The duo took to X and in a long post mainly said how T M Krishna has caused immense damage to the Carnatic music world and willfully and happily stomped over the sentiments of the music community. They also alleged that T M Krishna had insulted most respected icons like Tyagaraja and Srimati Vijayalakshmi. They added how Krishna tried to spread a sense of shame in being a Carnatic musician and have been exhibited through his consistent denigration of spirituality in music. The musical duo also accused Krishna of vilifying the Carnatic music fraternity and said, it is dangerous to overlook Mr. T M Krishna's glorification of a figure like EVR. By that, they of course meant Periyar. Close on the heels of Ranjini and Gayatri came yet another letter of protest from Dushyanth Sridhar, Vedic exponent, an excellent speaker who refused to perform for the Music Academy festival. He took to X and said, I have conveyed to the Music Academy that I will not be performing on the 1st of January 2025. Below is the copy of the letter drafted to them. The Vedic exponent also added, I have no authority to question the selection of his name for the award. I am pained by many of his public sentiments on Dharma, Ayodhya, Sri Rama and more. And then spoke the sibling duo of Sri Krishna Mohan and Ram Kumar Mohan, otherwise known as the Trichur brothers, who said that participating in the year-end festival conference hosted by the Academy will make them, within quotes, outright hypocrites in our own eyes, close quote. They posted their objection on X saying, formal announcement that we are pulling out of the annual conference 2024 of the Music Academy Madras for obvious reasons. To participate in a conference presided by Mr. T M Krishna would make us outright hypocrites in our own eyes. Sincerely, Trichur brothers. Meanwhile, Madras Music Academy President N. Murali on Thursday lashed out at vocalist Ranjini and Gayatri in a letter about what was termed as unwarranted and slanderous assertions and insinuations by Carnatic music vocalists Ranjini and Gayatri and their vicious tone against senior fellow musician T M Krishna. In the letter, N. Murali said, and I am quoting him, I received your joint letter of 20th March 2024 and was shocked by both its vituperative content, which is replete with unwarranted and slanderous assertions and insinuations verging on defamation, and its vicious tone against a respected senior fellow musician. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no doubt that T M Krishna has been highly critical of the caste privilege of those who have since time immemorial had iconic status in the world of Carnatic music. Well, in his book Sebastian and Sons, he questions the marginalization of castes who have immense contribution to the craft of music, but are perhaps kept out. He has also questioned one amongst the trinity of Carnatic music, that is Sri Tyagaraja. But then, you know, what is very strange is that T M Krishna, who has always challenged the upper caste hegemony, as it were, receives an award from an institution that is perceived to be exactly the same. Let's debate. We shall be joined by several other guests on the show, but right now I can see Sri Dushyanth Sridhar, the Vedic scholar, joining us. Namaskaram, Dr. Sridhar.
Namaskaram, Sudhaji.
So, tell me, you know, the thing is that you wrote a very polite letter, but let's look at it in an expansive fashion and not just restrict it to us or you, along with, you know, Ranjini, Gayatri and others, Trichur brothers, against one man. If you could just summarize it decode it for the audiences, what is it? Is it about his denigration of Sri Rama, Ayodhya, Dharma, that actually made you, because you know there could be another argument that after all he is a great artist as well.
Namaskaram to all your viewers. It's not a very simplistic explanation that I can give, because it's multi-layered. One of the layers is, at the outset, nobody is against the award given to any individual, but they question the veracity and the qualifications required for such an award. First, I'm sure your viewers will know that Chennai celebrates a very elaborate Carnatic music festival in the months of December, January. It extends to even November and then till February. So there are over 3,000 concerts performed by a galaxy of musicians. The audience comes from world over to just celebrate the beautiful Sangeetam and the Shastriya Sangeetam. And this is conducted just not by the Madras Music Academy, it is conducted by a plethora of organizations. And in the last 8 to 10 years, the Sangita Kalanidhi designate of the Music Academy, Mr. T M Krishna, had come out in the public stating that I will not be performing in any of the December festivals. Right. And he has been very honest to that. In the last 10 years, especially in the academy, if my memory serves me right, he has not performed in the academy at all. And to deserve an award, when you have not been performing, you have not been consistent in your performances, especially with the academy, you have not performed at all. A lot of my fellow Vidwans and Vidushis who are musicians question on what basis it is given. Of course, it is left to the Music Academy to decide on what basis it is given. Of course, one of the reasons they have stated in their citation, or probably the press release, is he has tried to help take music to different quarters. That's the overall meaning. I'm not quoting it verbatim.
All right.
In that scenario, so they are saying over and beyond the music fraternity, which is a Music Academy circle, he's doing a lot to music. I will give you a very a quotable example, Sudhaji. It is there in the media. It is there for anyone to check. I think in the year 2017 or 18, in one of the book launches, he said that the great doyen, Bharat Ratna, MS Subbalakshmi, had she not been fair-skinned, had she not dressed up in a Brahminical way, would the Brahmin society have accepted her? This is quite a slanderous statement to make. Of course, the president currently has said that a Vidushi has made a slander, but I don't think there can be any big slander than that. Did we listen to MS Subbalakshmi's Suprabhatam? Did we listen to MS Subbalakshmi's Bhajagovindam? Did we listen to her renditions of the Annamacharya Kritis just because she was fair-skinned and she was wearing the sari?
Dushyanji, if my memory serves right, I think he made a reference to her Devadasi past and said that if she had not married a Brahmin, then would the world have accepted her? But you know what? I think the art form, the Carnatic music art form, is way ahead of caste and any kind of other religiosities and any kind of boundaries is what one has learnt and one will adhere to. But I am asking you, I will go to Dr. Vijayalakshmi Subramanian has also joined us. Dr. Subramanian, I shall come to you in a moment. Let me finish with Dushyantji. But my point is, Dushyantji, you said if T M Krishna has not performed for the academy for over a decade, then does that make him eligible for the award? What is the academy doing? Who's giving the prize to him? How, if I receive an award from, if I receive an invite from you, come over for a meal and we've not even spoken for 10 years, why are you calling me home?
Yeah, and one more thing, Sudhaji, this is very important point that I have to make. Unlike the Shastriya Sangeetam in the north of India, the south of India, the Karnataka Sangeetam is based on Sahityam. The lyrics composed by a plethora of poets, Purandaradasa, Kanakadasa, Annamaya, Bhadrachala Ramdasa, Tyagaraja, Dikshitar, Shama Shastri, Swati Tirunad. And all these lyrics focus on the Hindu scriptures and the Devatas mentioned in our scriptures. For example, Tyagaraja venerates Rama, Prabhu Sri Ramachandra to the court. And you know, 50 years back in the very state of Tamil Nadu, there was E.V. Ramaswamy Nayakar, popularly known as Periyar, who took out a public rally having a chappal mala around Rama, calling Sita a prostitute, giving hits one after the other. It's there in the public forum. And he sings composition on the very stage. He sings compositions on Tyagaraja, who sung on Rama, on Periyar as well. Will a devout Christian allow carols on Jesus to be sung on the same platform
Sir,
on the Roman governor who slandered?
Dushyantji, I don't want, Dushyantji, but I have heard, I live in the north, but I am a Tamilian. Let me tell you that I have heard Ustad Bismillah Khan Sahab singing a Ram Bhajan where it brings tears to your eyes. So I don't think religion matters here. Dr. Subramanian, let me come back to you. Sir, just a minute. I have to welcome Dr. Subramanian to the debate. Thank you so much to have you on the show, ma'am. I just want to know, what are your comments on, you know, what I found very surprising is that if I criticize an institution like T M Krishna has continuously trained his guns on the music academy, and then to say, thank you so much, I am overwhelmed by the prize that you are given. That is my first question to you. Does it smack of hypocrisy to you, or you think that he is larger than normal human beings? He is forgiven the academy and he has accepted the prize with folded hands.
Hello Sudhaji, thank you for having me on the show. Yes, this is a very interesting time that we are seeing here in Carnatic music.
Yes.
The Sangita Kalanidhi award is something that is anticipated with a lot of excitement every year because it is the highest accolade. And T M Krishna has been such a wonderful musician with a fantastic voice and range and repertoire and very charismatic presence on the stage. He's influenced so many people. So it's strange that they should evoke so much of.
Oh, I think that Dr. Subramanian's frame is now frozen. So I think we'll have to go to Dushyantji. But there you have it. Before I join other guests, of course, the tweet, you can see it on your screens. And for ladies and gentlemen who've just joined us, we're talking about the very contentious T M Krishna issue, which is exploded, imploded, you may call it anything, in the world of Carnatic music. And right now, one of the Vidwans, Sri Dushyanth Sridhar, who is a Vedic scholar, who is also withdrawn from performing at the academy, is alive with us, and he was talking about that why is it that he thinks that he needs to recuse himself from this so-called festival. You know, Sri Dushyanth Sridhar, you were talking about, of course, you know, I just want to focus on the musician, the musical part of it. You were raising your finger. Please.
Yeah, Sudhaji, I wish to complete one point.
Please
you said you've been raised in the north of India, and you gave me of a devout Muslim singing bhajans on Ram. This is not the point here. He sang compositions on Periyar, and Periyar was the one who broke Rama idols. Doesn't this hurt the sentiments of a Carnatic Astika who venerates Rama is the question. It is not about him singing carols on Jesus or anything. That is not the point. How can you sing about a man who broke and called Sita by different names? That is the question. Now you have your, of course, you can ask your question now.
Well, I have to take a break, Dushyanth, but before that,
Sure.
let me tell you the great M.S. Subbulakshmi also sang Christmas carols and also a ghazal.
That's
I've
okay.
heard
That's
her.
absolutely okay.
Yeah,
But she
that's
didn't sing a song on Periyar for your.
no, she may have not, but yeah, but we'll come back.
She wouldn't. She will never do that.
Yeah, right. Dr. Subramanian, thanks God that you are back. You were saying something when we, lost you. Please tell me.
With me completely. I hope I'm not repeating myself entirely, but my point was that Krishna is such a fabulous musician, so talented, wonderful voice, and everything. And I think with such fame comes a lot of responsibility because he has been in a position of influencing so many youngsters. I know many people have taken to music, they try to sing the way he does and stuff like that. So when you are in such a position, I think it's very important to know what you're saying. And I think the current generation, my generation, younger musicians, everyone is very well educated. Everyone wants to make this a very inclusive space. See, we all love Carnatic music, and we want to have more and more people come into the fold, either as performers or as rasikas. So I think everybody is trying to do their bit in making it more inclusive. So I think it would be tremendously useful if we can focus on how to take the art forward into trying, instead of trying to dig it to the past and bring in differences which have ceased to existence. And in that context, I don't know, given the history between Krishna and Academy, what can I say? They seem to have evolved and moved forward so much that they don't take umbrage at anything that each has said about the other.
Yeah, which is very surprising, Dr. Subramanian, that somebody who, like Dushyanth also said, has not performed at the Academy for nearly a decade and has also spoken against the Academy, today is conferred an award, and both sides seem to be very happy at the same party.
Yes, in fact, the very fact that T M Krishna sang at the Academy's Tyagaraja Aradhana came as quite a shock to a number of Rasikas, because as Dushyanth ji said, Krishna's views on Tyagaraja have been far from respectful or complimentary, and you certainly don't expect, if I'm going to be hurling abuses at you, and then I come and, I'm singing your praise, it certainly strikes a very discordant note.
Okay. Dushyanth ji, let's kind of expand this discussion. A lot of people may say, because I have read Sebastian and Sons, the book that T M Krishna wrote on the Mridangam makers, and there was a lot of controversy about that also. I want to ask you, sir, that just because I criticize you, and I am not saying abuse, but criticize you, and I say that in the past this was done, maybe this shouldn't have been done. I mean, a lot of discussion has gone on and on, but I am only going to focus on what T M Krishna said. T M Krishna comments on the caste hierarchy. He talks about how there is one particular privileged caste to which he also belongs, who seem to have a hegemony over most of the music fest and the art form of Carnatic music. He's also, of course, spoken about Tyagaraja. He's spoken about M.S. Subbulakshmi. He's spoken about man, woman, how women can do better, etc., etc. He writes on a lot of political, cultural issues. So, I want to know your views that he may say all that, he could be very, very, but then he is an artist at the end of the day. So, do you think that an artist should also have these kind of responsibilities, or you think an artist is an island? You just call him because he sings beautifully, that's all, nothing else matters. After all, Srimati Lata Mangeshkar, Bharat Ratna, was also mired in a lot of controversies, So, I want your views on that, Dushyanth ji.
Sudhaji, at the outset, the Shastriya Karnataka Sangeetam that we know of today from the Sahityams of great stalwarts comes as a subset under the larger ambit of Sanatana Dharma or Hinduism. And as a religion, as a civilization, we are open to reforms. All our social reformers who have been born time and again have always insisted that we should reform, and we are open to reforms. But reforms should come in a very positive way, not at denigrating one community, slandering one community time and again, referring in Hindu, in popular publications, he writes mamas and mamis of Mylapore. Is this the way you call a community? If you have certain problems, we are all together. We can all make it a together movement. There are wonderful ways for people to come together and make changes, like Vijayalakshmi ji said. You can make changes. This is a civilization that allows reforms. Nobody says don't reform. But at the same time, slandering. He was the one who started boycotting the December
Artist.
festival. Now
But do you concur that he's a great artist, Dushyanth ji?
See, when I say art form, when I say that somebody sings, yes, why shouldn't I not listen to T M Krishna's music? Why shouldn't I not? But the problem comes only when he starts abusing some of the people like Tyagaraja. So I cannot listen to a person who abuses Tyagaraja and then listen to his Sitama Mayama and Basanta. For me, that is hypocrisy. Because the composer takes a lot of respect in Shastriya Sangeetam.
Okay.
So we have to venerate Tyagaraja.
All right.
One calling and calling names and then taking up the composition. To me, as
Yeah,
a
but
person,
I think yeah, because of what you follow, Dushyanth ji, you're a scholar. You know, I've heard you speak. You're an exponent. You speak in Sanskrit. Sorry, you speak in different languages. You're a Vedic scholar, and you know, I'm not saying that you're unique, but then you have a position. But I want to talk to Dr. Subramanian. You know, Vijayalakshmi ji. You know, do you think an artist has a right to be critical of what is seen as a holy cow for ages, you know, in a particular art form? If I'm a painter, don't I have the right to say that I think most of Picasso is just bad work? Why are we so particular about holding on to these old traditions only because Carnatic music is more about bhakti and less about Shringar?
No, it's not like that at all. I would like to differ here. See, the point is you can always have dissent. You can always speak against something, but validate it. It can't be, oh, I think so. Then at the end of the day, it is your opinion against mine. If my opinion is not valid, why should I take it that your opinion is valid? See, there are a few things I'd just like to mention.
Please
here.
go ahead.
T M Krishna had this idea that he wanted to take Carnatic music to the Kuppam. The Kuppam is a fisherman's village here in Chennai. And there was a big thing. And I know an activist who was extremely active in the Kuppam and said, Krishna, this will not work here. Let us do one thing. Let us audition. Let us select 4 or 5 children. You train them. Whether it's 5 or 6 years later that you put them on stage, you will still be doing a service. But that was not acceptable to Krishna, and he wanted to do that. And I don't know how many people know that the Kuppam chief wrote a 3-page letter saying, I find it, we have a lot of music and dance in our own community, and I find it extremely condescending of you to think that we need Carnatic music alone to make us culture. No, I think that's a very telling statement. See, you need to take it where it is required, but this is as bad, right? You're finding deficiencies in a community which is very happy without Carnatic. And similarly, you know, a lot of things like this whole thing about going to the abattoir and selecting the piece for the mirdangam. I have had mirdangam artists who are friends, and they tell me it is very difficult to afford to do that. You cannot afford to buy a mirdangam which is made like that. And he says, we have gone with the mirdangam makers. We stand at the corner of the street when this, the truck comes with the carcasses, and those guys become friends, and they'll just throw you a piece. And then you go and take it and make it. So I just find that this whole thing is just completely blown out of proportion. And I don't see the reason to dwell in the past. Okay, if you think something was wrong, what can we do to right it instead of make it right, instead of dwelling on it and say, oh my God, it was this, oh my God, it was that. You are not serving any purpose by doing that.
All right.
And another thing, on a national radio broadcast in the US, T M Krishna made a statement saying, oh, this is all religious music. Now, I think the connotation for religious music is very different. Now, what happened? The next set of artists who applied for a performance visa were rejected, saying you have applied for visa in the wrong category, applied for a religious
Oh my God, on that note.
visa.
Yeah, so let me take a break. Yeah, Vijayalakshmi ji, I'll take a break, but you make some very, very interesting and valid points. So when we come back, let me talk to Dushyanth ji and also Vijayalakshmi ji. If T M Krishna is doing things only for effect, that he wants to stand out, stand apart so that people notice him, for more than what he is, which is he is primarily a musician, because he's a fantastic singer. There are no two ways about it. He's somebody who writes very well, speaks very well, has what many would say a very modern outlook. Like Dr. Subramanian said, that he is so respected that a lot of young musicians look up to him. Is he only doing it for effect? If he is doing that for effect, then it's a very sad state of affairs. Also joining us, Sri Dushyanth Sridhar, Vedic scholar. Dushyanth ji, do you think that, what is very strange is that, like Dr. Vijayalakshmi before the break said about how he said it's all religious music, he goes to the fisherman's colony in Chennai and says, I will teach, whereas the fisherman, the chief says there is no need. I'm reminded of that scene in a very famous movie called Sindhu Bhairavi, if you remember, where this Carnatic musician is singing and the fisherman comes and says, I don't understand what you're singing, will you sing something that I understand? And it's so beautiful. And of course, the singer also sings Subramania Bharati, in that film. I'm reminded of that. So my question to you, Dushyanth ji, is he doing it for some kind of an effect? Where is this coming from? Because he is also from a so-called privileged caste, if I may add.
Yeah. Sudhaji, you've asked a very pertinent question. I don't know how many of your viewers will know, MS Subbulakshmi, the doyen, Bharat Ratna, for a few years boycotted the Music Academy very quietly because she believed that most compositions were either in Sanskritam or Telugu. She wanted Tamil compositions because we have wonderful Tamil compositions of Muthu Tandavar, Marimutta Pillai, Arunachala Kavi, Alvars, Naima, so on and so forth. So she wanted them to be equally spaced. Later, the Music Academy realized, and they gave, probably there is supposed to be a misunderstanding, and then a lot of musicians started singing. But this is not there in the public. Why? Because if your real intent is to bring a change, a reform, you do it quietly and you ensure till you do it. You don't have to slander someone. You don't have to do it. So people have worked towards the system, Sudhaji. Not every musician in the past, they have done their little bit to make this very vibrant. The only thing is they didn't have the media cloud that he enjoys, the articles that he writes. So everybody did it without hurting or abusing any other community or making one community a villain.
Yeah,
so it should not accept 70%. Yes, the performing musicians could be Brahmins, but we are not doing it with a restriction stating that non-Brahmins should not learn, non-Brahmins should not perform. We are open. I do run Patashala of Shastram. Everybody is welcome. But if there are lesser number of people from other communities, I will reach to them. But I will not create a huge hullabaloo.
But you do agree, Dushyanth ji, that the higher caste, rather the Brahmins, they have a hegemony over the world of Carnatic music. You did. You just now said.
Yeah, I said a lot of people. I never use the word hegemony or
70%.
Yeah, 70% of the performing musicians are Brahmins. That's the reality. I agree.
But there is something which maybe. Yeah, sure. But we can always make a change. But Dr. Subramanian, I want to ask you,
one point, Sudhaji.
Go ahead, sir.
In that case, he has been performing for the last 30 plus years. Recently, Vijayalakshmi ji spoke about Tyagaraja Aradhana. He had another concept called Friends in Concert. All the 11 people who performed with him were all Brahmins. Where is that inclusivity there?
No. No. I can discuss this with you. It's not about Brahmins that he's saying Brahminical attitude. There's a big difference between the two. There is, Dushyanth ji, there is. Yeah, you cannot blame yourself for having been born into a caste, and I'm talking in the sense of music, and therefore others also cannot. I don't think he has anything against Brahmins. But the hegemony, the attitude of Brahmins, some of them, and I'm not saying I'm on his side, maybe that is erroneous. I only look at him as a musician. Please sing. I want to hear you sing rather than create these controversies. Dr. Subramanian, I want to ask you, do you think that when other musicians like Ranjini Gayatri and also Dushyanth ji and also the Trichur brothers, they are saying we will not go, they are also kind of boycotting, right? I mean, this kind of boycott, this cancel culture which goes on, and with an academy which has given a chance. I mean, it's been there since 1940s? Correct me if I'm wrong, 42, I think, around that time.
26 or 27.
Oh my
They've been
God.
around.
Wow. So look at that. You know, for so many years, do you think that, would you cancel culture? Would you boycott them just because they have awarded TM Krishna? I mean, and TM Krishna is going to, of course, preside over it. Do you think that's a bit of an overreaction also? You're all artists. We need to hear you sing.
To address the previous issue that you brought up, Sudhaji, about the hegemony, see, I think over time, certain communities have grown up with certain aspects of learning, right? So now you will find that 70% of the business is all done by the chettiars. So do we, castigate them saying that, oh, Brahmins are not allowed to do business? It's not like that. It's a choice that you have to make. And I think however things may have been previously, we've had tremendous musicians who have not been Brahmins. Parini Subramanian Pillai, who's revered as God in Mirdangam, belong to the Pillai community. You have TM Soundarajan, you have Sirgari Govindarajan, Rajaratnam Pillai. You have any number of musicians. And this is
what
not
about Maulana
this
Maulana,
no.
sir?
This kind of, discrimination is not something that is exclusive to Carnatic music.
All right.
Just because artists are in the public eye, it doesn't mean everybody gets to, castigate this community.
Yeah, but Dr.
And
Subramanian, I
coming
asked
back
you
to
about
the
cancel culture. So.
Yes. And coming to the academy, see, the academy has a hoary past and they have done a lot. It was one of the foremost institutions which truly acted as an academy where there were a lot of discussions and debates about music. But what happens is this is a community and we are trying to make it and keep it as inclusive as possible. And everybody, believe me, so many musicians are doing such good work. I have taught in an after-school center for children who belong to, other communities who come there just because they get a glass of milk. There are people who are teaching so many people like that, but nobody really comes out and say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So when somebody in within your community wants to create such a wrong impression about the art, how can you protest? You can only say, I think this is a very, very decent way of saying, okay, look, this may be agreeable to you, but it's not agreeable to me. So what can I do? I'll stay away from it.
All right. And on that note, to Dr. Vijayalakshmi Subramanian, thank you so much for joining us. Sri Dushyanth Sridhar, it was a pleasure. I've completely run out of time. Thank you to both for joining us.